Things didn't look good for the second-seeded Ottawa 67s in the spring of 1994. In the first round, the plucky Peterborough Petes forced them to a Game 7. And to make matters worse, they weren't in their home arena, forced to play the biggest game of the season away from the Civic Centre.
We were playing in Hull, which was kind of different, and it was kind of an unbelievable atmosphere in the small rink. We're used to playing the Civic Centre, and there we played, I don't know how many people were there, but it was just jam-packed, and it was probably the loudest rink I'd played in up till then.
We were down by a goal with 1 minute and 10 seconds to go in the game, and Mike Peck was fingered by the referee right in front of our bench for tripping one of the Peterborough players. When Mike was going to the penalty box, he whispered to me, well, it's going to make it a little more difficult now because by far Mike was our best hockey player.
But with Peck in the box, the 67 scored shorthanded with only 2 seconds remaining in the game.
Kirk Bowen went in, got the puck out, Donovan shot, hit the post, and Steve Washburn was on the other side of the net, puck came in to put it in.
After Washburn's goal, the team returned to the dressing room, where defenseman Wade Simpson promised $100 to the player who potted the winner. And as fate would have it, Simpson, who scored only 3 goals all season, got it himself.
It was almost as if somebody up there was looking down on the 67s that night.
The 2001-2002 season was not going as planned. The 67s were struggling on the ice and tumbling in the standings. But on one late season road trip, the momentum started to shift.
We were going into Plymouth, kind of rock bottom. And Zenon Konopka did something in that game. He took some black ink and he put it under one eye, and it was like a war paint type of analogy, and almost like this is the new start of our season.
The 67s began the playoffs as the 4th seed in the East, but went on a roll. They dropped only 3 games in the first 3 rounds, setting up a matchup with the heavily favored Plymouth Whalers. Led by Konopka, Lance Galbraith, and Joe Talbot, the 67s upset the Whalers to win the franchise's 3rd OHL championship. The playoff MVP was goaltender Seamus Kotick.
He had that great personality, though. When he let in a bad goal, it didn't bother him. I think that was one of the keys with Seamus. He was able to forget about it. He was able to shake it off, didn't let it affect him.
The game that we won in their rink, I think they got a running start. They're up 4-1 the first period. And I'm starting to wonder, is he ready? We call a timeout in the first period. And I said, how do you feel? He said, fine, lucky goals. So anyway, what were you going to do? I know we had a backup goaltender and you could use, and sometimes it's momentum, but Seamus, it wasn't bothering him that the 4 went in, He went back in there and we won that game 6-5.
He knew, when it was maybe not a great time to let in a goal and when it was time to stand on his head, and he had the ability to do that and back that up. So yeah, that's the Grant Fuhr factor.
In that season, no 67s player topped 40 goals or 80 points.
That's a perfect Brian Kilrea team. It wasn't about talent. It was about what you learned as a player about yourself and your teammates. And it was also willing to put yourself out there 100% of the time, all the time for the team.
Kotick continues to hold a place in the 67's record book with 75 career wins, most among goalies in the history of the franchise. And Galbraith continues to lead in all-time games played and, of course, penalty minutes. Very few members of the 67s enjoyed more success than Jimmy Fox. Acquired by Kilrea in a one-sided trade from Windsor, Fox stood only 5'8". But size did not define Fox as a hockey player.
Jim Fox had a ton of hockey sense. He skated well, a tremendous passer, excellent goal scorer, and he could find open men on the ice. But I think his ability to pass the puck made him elite.
He was always one step ahead of everybody else.
Just such a creative guy, a great playmaker and just so smart.
In what seems fitting for Fox, his greatest feat in a 67's uniform is not a single game or goal, but something he accomplished over the course of an entire season. In 1979-80, playing on a line with Sean Simpson and Ivan Joly, Fox recorded a point in every preseason, regular season, and postseason game, 52 in all, a Canadian Hockey League record.
Believe me, I feel very proud to to be involved in that type of a record, because that just means you're ready to give it every night, you're ready to be there for your teammates, and you're ready to do whatever it takes to win.
He didn't take any shifts off. You know, he never took a shift off. He was so consistent, and that's another thing about Jimmy Fox that I always liked.
In his 3 seasons with the 67s, Fox recorded 146 goals and 396 points, earning OHL leading scorer and MVP honors after the 1979-80 season.
Well, Ottawa is so important, and it couldn't have been any better. I can't imagine my junior experience being any better than it was with the Ottawa 67s.
No 67s player will ever wear the number 14 again, in tribute to the accomplishments of Peter Lee. One of the greatest players in the history of the franchise, Lee made his debut in 1972.
Peter was a hard worker, and that's what I saw initially when he came up with us. And you know, that's an impression that lasts, because sometimes, you know, skill doesn't last for whatever reason, desire doesn't last for whatever reason, but with Peter Lee, it was pretty evident that the desire was going to be there, and his work ethic carried him through.
We'd practice from 4 to 6. He'd stay out shooting pucks till 7. We went and got him some weighted pucks. He'd stay out there by the hour shooting. I had to get him off.
Lee's hard work paid off. In his 5 seasons with the 67s, Lee's goal and point total improved each year, culminating in his record-breaking 1975-76 campaign. Lee broke 2 records that year. He became the OHL's career goal-scoring leader, and he shattered Rick Martin's mark for most goals in a season, finishing the campaign with a staggering 81.
Probably the best pure goal scorer I've ever seen in junior. Great shot. I mean, you talk about a guy who could put the puck through a keyhole. He was one of those guys.
Peter played on a good line, but he did not play on a line with a superstar. You know, he generated a lot of those goals himself.
He probably scored the greatest goal in junior hockey. A fellow by the name of Zabo in Kingston tackled him just inside their blue line. Zabo played for Kingston. Peter carried him on his back to the net and beat the goaltender with a shot. I said to the referee, "Were you going to call a penalty shot?" He said, "I was so amazed." He says, "To tell you the truth, I didn't have my arm up, even though I knew the guy was tackling him."
Peter Lee is still the 67's leader in career goals and points, and continues to hold the OHL record for goals in a career with 215.